Hey, and welcome to IMO In My Opinion with J&M. Jonathan, so you got a cup of coffee there.
Yeah, you see.
Cup of coffee
like
in the
an
big
adult,
time.
not Coca-Cola, not Cherry Coke.
The fact that you have such a big-ass cup of coffee is disturbing.
I need it.
Like, did you hear the sound that made when you put it down?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That can't be good for you.
Tell your mom I said thanks.
She does make a pretty good cup of coffee, apparently. How you doing?
I'm all right.
You all right? You sure?
Little trouble.
What's
yeah.
your trouble?
Eh,
Tell me your troubles, John.
we talked about it.
Mention it because we're gonna dabble in it.
Mandating the shot at work. So
The jab. They're mandating the jab.
yeah.
That's what Mina likes to say. The jab.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll dabble in that. So we were off last week, right?
I think we were off for 2 weeks.
We took a week off. So we got another guest today, a friend of mine from our days back at Chicago Actors Studio. Good times back then. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah,
good.
great.
I'm good,
Not
man.
you. You're not from the Chicago Actors Studio. Let him talk. Go ahead. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all.
No problem. If you want to introduce yourself and your Instagram, social media, all that type of stuff, you can get that.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Swapnil Shah. I've been acting for about close to 2.5 years now. My Instagram handles, let me get that out of the way, is I am Swapnil S. Shah. On Facebook, it's my name. And then I'm on Twitter by Swapnil as well. And then just in general, I have a couple films coming out currently. We just had a debut and a release party for Three Corners of Deception. That's going to be released in California, Boston, New York, Florida, and then eventually in Chicago. We have another film coming out in a couple months called Bradman. That's a superhero film parody that's coming out. So look out for that in Chicago theaters and hopefully on Netflix sometime. But otherwise, yeah, man, glad to be here and ready to chop it up with y'all.
That's awesome, man. You seem like a pretty busy guy. It was pretty hard to get you here.
Try to be, man. It's the grind.
We've been talking about getting you here for a while now.
For sure. I'm glad it worked out.
So let's start from the beginning. What made you want to act?
You know, in all honesty, like acting was something I wanted to do about 10 years ago. Eventually, you know, I ended up going to grad school, did all that bit, had to figure out how to make a living. So got a real big boy job, did that. And then I realized about 2.5 years ago that if I don't do it now, there's never going to be a good time to do it. So just decided to just jump in and kind of do it whenever I could on my free time.
Cool. And then what was your first step? Like, did you go look for classes and all that, or?
Yeah, man, that's where we kind of linked up.
Oh, that was your first step.
Yep, Chicago Actors Studio. That's
right on.
Kind of where I just kind of started from there.
Cool. How long did you linger there for?
I think it was like 3 months. And
oh yeah, you left way before I did.
He's a quick study. You're not.
Probably not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the place is weird, but I mean, it had its spot, I guess, right? Everybody has to start somewhere. It was the cheapest one in the city, right? So I was like, let's go there. So what did you gain from there? I mean, we had Lorden, right?
Yeah,
did you gain good stuff from that?
Yeah, I thought he was a pretty decent teacher, you know, in terms of like getting stage presence, poise, like how to audition. I think that was the biggest thing I learned by doing those monologues. In terms of, I think, continuing there for a long time, I don't know if I was going to stay for like 2-3 years because I looked at how their program worked and it's like they have to graduate you and stuff. So I don't know. I thought the 3 months I was there, I got what I needed from there and I kind of had to move on and then just kind of figure it out on my own.
Right on. I mean, I agree with you. I had Lorden when I first started and I think I agree with you where you said he's very good at stage presence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I think you need because you need to know how to control the other actor and whatever because you're trying to get a reaction out of them. And I think he was really good at that. Stage presence is huge. You know, learning how to move on the stage and having like telling a story while you're on stage and all that. So, I mean, he was really good at that. But I agree with you where like Chicago Actors, I think it's a good starting ground for a lot of people.
For sure.
But like I told most people, to me, it's like a get in, get out. Like get what you can and get out of there and move on. Yeah, and move on. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. You can gain stuff from there. You can.
Yeah.
But I think I gained more from other schools that I went to.
I agree.
Where else did you go?
I did some then on stage classes, which were like through special like people that were like in the couple movies I did, they were like director classes. So I did Green Shirt Studio for a little bit, and then I ended up doing Chicago. I think there's another one called Chicago Actor Studio or Actor Studio.
Actor Studio Chicago.
Yes. So I did that for a little bit, and then I think that was it. And then just kind of started auditioning for films after that.
Cool. What have you what have you done recently, you said? Well, me and you were part of the same film.
Yep.
We weren't part of the same scenes, but Three Corners of Deception.
You're a dope cop, man, on that film.
No, man. You know what?
Yeah,
I cringe with that shit, man. You sent me that little clip of it, and I'm just like, God, can I do this over? That was like my first time out, too.
For sure.
So, like, I was nervous as fuck. It was cold that day.
You had the beard, too. Didn't you shave?
No.
Why didn't you shave?
Because no.
Cop shave.
I wasn't getting paid a lot of money to do that. You're kidding me?
Look the part.
He was an intimidating indie cop.
Yeah. That's what I said.
That's
I
right.
said the same thing. And literally, that was kind of what they wanted. They wanted me to kind of, intimidate the guy. So what did you think of the film when you saw it?
It's not bad. I think it's just a little, in terms of like the romantic interest, because I played one of her romantic interests.
Oh, yes, I saw that part in the trailer. I saw that.
Yeah, but there's like 3 to 4 characters that have my character per se, and it's like she has a romantic Melvin, a mischievous Melvin, an angry Melvin. So she kind of has them split out, but they're like different people, but the character's supposed to be the same. So I feel like there's a little bit of confusion when it comes to that. But the overall film isn't bad, because I think the subject matter is really about the trials and tribulations she had in court when she was trying to get a divorce from her husband, who was like this attorney. And then because he had such a old boys network, and then to get custody of her son, she went through like the gamut pretty much. And, she was kind of screwed around by cops, by attorneys, because more or less he had them bought out, or he had special relationships with them. And then that's what the film is kind of more or less centered about.
Okay, cool. I mean, I'm hoping I had asked if when it was going to release so I can see it, because I didn't get a chance to go down there. It was actually my sister's birthday that weekend, so I had to stay here.
Gotcha.
And that's not a 10-minute trip. That's a pretty far trip down to
For sure.
southern Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a good time when I filmed with them.
Yeah.
I only had one scene, a little cop scene or whatever, and I mean, it was really cool. Watching people do what they do. I think that's one thing we don't get to experience when you're on a major set. Like I wish when you're on a big production, I wish you can stick around and watch everything that happens in that day. But unfortunately, that's not how it works.
You're in and out, man.
It's like you're a part, get the fuck out.
Yep.
Thank you very much for your time.
Why is that? It's odd.
It is odd. It's literally like that. I'm not kidding you. If you're not part of what's going on, you're not there.
It's like a machine, man.
Yeah.
Like you do your bit and then you're just out.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.
Like thank you.
I would think as long as you're behind the camera.
No, you're not even
fine.
supposed to like be in that vicinity either. You're kind of in a chair. You're sitting in your chair, and when they need you, they call you. You go do your stuff. You go do your work, and come sit back down or go back to your trailer.
And I think you're called back based on how quick and efficient you are. And it's funny because you think like they'd want you to, like you said, stay there, hang out, and then like deliver your lines. But it's like boom, 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 do your lines, get the hell out. And if you are quick and pretty efficient with their time, then maybe like when you auditioning and the director remembers, oh, this guy was pretty good, so they call you back.
This guy didn't take up much of my time. I like him.
I mean, it's for real. If you everything costs money, so the longer you're there, the more money it costs. You know what I'm saying? So the goal is to be one and done. But I mean, that never happens. But that's the goal, right? To be able to get it done in one shot, or at least as efficient as possible.
Yep.
So you had a good time with Three Corners of Deception. Have you done anything major? I know you're big on indies right now, right?
Yeah, just indies, nothing major yet. So starting to now finally audition for bigger like episodics, NBC episodics, like bigger roles, and like, ideally I'd like to get on like a show, CW, whatever that may be. But I think I've done enough indies now where I'm like, all right, it's ready for that next step where I think the quality of my acting in general, the presence, I think it's up to a point where I feel comfortable to be like, all right, like let's move on to bigger and better fish.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff you've done. I've seen some of the short films you've done. I know you do a lot of work with Adam and those guys over there in IMD. What's it called?
Indid B.
That's it.
Yep.
I keep confusing that with website for actors. That's pretty cool. How was your experience over there?
It's great, man. He set up this massive playground for actors where I think any actor or filmmaker trying to produce a quality film has the ability now to do so. You don't need like a $1,000 or multi-$1,000 budget. You can go in there, produce a film. He's got, stage props ready. He's got, people ready that can come help you, DPs, behind the scenes photographers, people that are knowledgeable about lighting. And if you have a good concept or a good script, you can go and do that. And I think every month they also have this project playground where they have people that write up scripts, and then it's like a 2 to 4 minute short film that they produce every month. And then they have casting calls for actors who want to get into it, can kind of get into the biz and get a flavor for how they've produced and filmed there.
Sure. I actually met him a long time ago, right when he first started doing, coming up with this concept. I went to go take a trip over there.
Oh, sweet.
He's a weirdo.
He's interesting. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
That's not the word. It's eccentric.
Sure. Whatever makes it.
I don't know who you're talking about.
No, we've talked about that. Us like outside of the camera.
He's an acquired taste. I
yes,
feel like
he is an acquired. No, he is an acquired taste.
He won't appeal to everybody.
No. He was the guy. He got into an argument. Not an argument. He started debating with some of my cousins and me over if we should rent or own a home. One time, I think I feel like I told you this story before on one of my Facebook posts or whatever. And I mean, don't get me wrong. You could be whoever the hell you want to be.
For sure.
Right? I mean, that's two separate things. I mean, it's up to the person if they want to do business with you, right?
For sure.
Doesn't really make a difference. But I don't know. He's kind of a weird acquired taste, like you said. Yeah. I don't shy on what he does for actors. I think that's pretty cool that he does it. I remember I rented some gear from him for my short like one time. Then I just found it easier just to buy my own stuff. But then I used it for more stuff, so it made more sense for me. But it's actually pretty cool. I did see the jail cell thingy that they just recently put up. That looked really cool.
Yeah,
that was actually really cool.
I think one thing about him is like he really owns kind of who he is, and he's very comfortable.
He definitely does that.
His opinion, which is cool. And I think like what he's doing for like indie films and acting, I think given another year or two, it's going to become this mammoth thing. And I think his vision for kind of what he's trying to do is, I think, great for just independent filmmakers. So whoever, actors want to get into it, he's debunking that whole, you have to be in Hollywood and this $1 million paid actor to produce like a film or be in a film. Sure. I think he's debunking that myth, which is nice to see.
Sure. No, absolutely. What do you, since you're very familiar with going there, and I'm assuming you've watched the majority of the stuff that comes out of there, what do you think what would you do differently if you were if you saw a short film from one of the guys there, what would be the one thing you would probably do differently?
I don't know. I think
or improve, I guess.
The challenge sometimes is like when you're producing film, and because I think he's limited sometimes in the equipment and stuff he can give, the camera and stuff like that, the scenes sometimes, like it's hard to produce like sometimes that Hollywood caliber scene or whatever. So I think sometimes making the backdrops or the scenes more nuanced. I think they're getting better and better every day.
I agree with that. Yeah. I do. Like I said, this newer one, it wasn't even a short film. It was like, I think he was testing out the cell scene. He was just testing it out or whatever.
They did a bar scene
and I'm like, man, it actually looked really good.
Legit. Yeah.
I think, again, this is me thinking from outside and what I see. Yeah. And I'm not no cinematographer. I'm not a professional, but I mean, I've done my own short film and I kind of did a lot of research into that. I think the biggest problem I see indie producers and cinematographers and all that they do is they kind of don't do enough research in my opinion, in the sense of looking for information on how to shoot something or settings that would make it look different. I think we all get suckered into the eye candy of having an 8K camera.
Yeah.
Right. But then we get the 8K camera, but we don't read the manual.
Sure.
And then we're just shooting with a camera, hoping that the camera makes it look a certain way, when that's not necessarily the case. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a cinematic look.
Absolutely.
Right. We all strive to have that cinematic look. Right.
Sure.
But it's achieved by multiple ways. Right. But in my opinion, I think it's more knowledge of what the industry does as a whole instead of let me just do what I want to do. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I think there's a standard to everything.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think we have to understand that standard first, and then we can improve. You know, but that's just me. I like to think outside the box, especially when I watch stuff. You know, I tend to look at the specifics because I got involved in that.
For sure.
You know, podcast or my short, whatever. I did a shit ton of research when I see certain things, and I'm like, man, like if you would have just done this or put your aspect ratio here or your frame rate here, it would have made it completely different. You know.
Yeah, man.
But that's just me. You know. Have you dabbled into the whole like producing and directing and all that?
You know,
have you wanted to do?
Well, I have a script currently that we've written out with a friend, and we're trying to produce this film. The problem is one of the scenes, the major scenes, requires a metro station license to film at a metro station. I'm trying to find like a train station anywhere, but I think anywhere you go, you need some kind of license to film on there with a crew. So the idea was, I'm waiting still for that license. Once I can get that to go, we can film it. And then the other half would probably be filmed at Indy B.
Wouldn't you be able to go to like some suburb and find some abandoned
how
one?
about this? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to create a diversion. I'm going to say I want to kill myself. I'm going to jump on the tracks. And then while I'm doing that,
you guys just film?
Film.
There you go.
You got a good 20 to 30 seconds.
I like your plan. I like the way you think, John.
Resist arrest too. Run away.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Hey.
No, I think that's really cool. I think that's one of the things that I moved into that I really wanted to dabble into. It's like, you know, writing and directing and cinematography. Like acting, I love acting.
Sure.
Acting's fun, right? But there's so much more to it.
Absolutely.
You know, and then the more you know and the more you understand, can only make you better.
Yeah, if you're good behind the camera, you can be great on camera.
Yeah, I agree.
So
you're really just looking for a train station, right? That's what you're looking for?
Just a train station for now, man. I mean,
what's your story about? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no, I can. Ideally, the premise of the story is there's a girl and a guy, and the girl is basically at this train station about to jump onto the tracks.
How ironic.
Yeah. And the guy sees her, and he's going to pretty much help her before she jumps. And before he can do that, he stops her. She basically slaps and says, "It's a free country, why are you touching me?" And then that's the story starts, and they both have their backstories. It goes into that. And then he finds out that she's actually in a very abusive relationship, and she's come to this country as an immigrant, but really doesn't have much going on for her. And then later he finds out that she's actually trying to get her husband killed, which turns into like a semi-thriller type of movie. But that's kind of what I'll give you. And then that's kind of where the story goes off into a whole different aspect.
Oh, I can totally see why you would need a license. I mean, if you're going to stand on the train tracks.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to risk electrocuting yourself with it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Any other schools you want to go to, like when it comes to like studying for acting again?
You know, I'd like to go to like these bigger, like I think it's called Black Box. There's one.
I went there.
What'd you think of that?
You like theater?
More or less.
It's theater based. It's very theater based.
Do you feel like what you learn, you can apply that to on camera or no?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because I mean, I'm pretty sure, as you know. So like in theater, you have to be big, right? You have to be very physically expressive, right? I mean, because you see more on the screen versus, I mean, on stage versus on the screen, you only see, you know, what people are seeing right now. And you have to tone it down on screen, you know, because it's very obvious when it's very obvious on screen versus it's not so obvious on stage because people are far away.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Does it help? Yeah. I mean, they taught me how to, you know, one of the things they're really big on is reacting to the person, right? So like, what do I feel when they say a certain thing, you know, or something like that, and I'm reacting to that or whatever. So it was really useful, but it wasn't something I wanted to keep going to. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
It was useful, but I'm more worried about cameras than I am worried about stage, because I don't think I'm gonna dabble too much into the stage production on my part.
Yeah, and the other thing is, to your point, is like a lot of these classes that make you commit financially is a big amount, but then it's a time aspect too. So if you're working like, you know, a regular day job, then to commit to this like at a full time is kind of tough. I don't know. So it's like you have to kind of pick and choose where you can kind of do both.
And then right now in the city, it's kind of hard because like a lot of them were doing Zoom classes for a while. And I'm not a fan of that. I don't know if you are. Are you a fan of Zoom classes?
I think they're effective, but it's not, you don't get 100% out of them. You know, it's like cool if you want to like keep sharpening your skills, but I feel like being there in person is just a whole different vibe. Experience.
I agree 100%. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a whole different thing when you're actually there and there's a camera staring at you in the face and you have someone to, you know, perform with or whatever.
Yep.
So I went to, after I left Chicago Actors, I went to the Green Room.
Okay.
Really good school. I highly recommend it, but unfortunately right now I think they're just doing online classes. Emma went there a lot. I'm pretty sure you know who Emma is. She went there and she took the online classes and she said it was great.
Okay.
So I went to Black Box because Black Box was still having in person, right? Which was weird. So let me tell you something. So when I signed up for Black Box, and it's not a shun to them, it is what it is. But so they make you say, I mean, if you're vaccinated, they would say, okay, we're going to put all the vaccinated people together and then all the people that are not vaccinated together, right?
Okay.
Cool. No problem, right? So I'm walking in for my first day and I'm like, okay, so that means we're probably not going to have to wear masks because we're all vaccinated, right? We had a double mask, which to me was weird.
That is so awkward.
So why even have a separation between vaccinated and not vaccinated then if you have to double mask anyway?
But my question is, why even allow the people that are not vaccinated, though, right? Because they're more of a risk than people that are vaccinated.
Hold on, where's that button? Ooh, John. Woo.
Scandal.
Do you have something to say about that one, John?
No. I don't
Oh, we'll say we'll get there. We'll get there. I don't know. I just found that weird. I found that part weird because acting with a mask is weird.
Yeah,
because you have to see everything. But I mean, I digress on that. I did learn a lot from
it
there.
Works. Double mask. Double condoms. It's all the same.
No, it's not. You're ridiculous.
Double protection.
You're ridiculous. Double your fun, like double mint gum.
Yeah.
Anyways, I went there for a while. If you really want me to tell you, try it if you like theater.
Okay.
You know, you're not going to lose anything out of it. It is a little pricey though.
Yeah,
they're a little pricey.
For sure.
So I'm starting at Vagabond next weekend. I think next weekend. So they're having online. I mean, they're having in-person classes.
And that's just for like on camera.
On camera. So I'm gonna try them out, see how they work. I've heard good things about them before too, so hopefully it's a good experience. So what was the next one you have coming up? Your next film?
It's called Bradman. It's like a superhero
Chantal's in that too.
Yeah, she is. There's a lot of people actually in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
So basically, it's about the superhero Bradman. He's this pretty much middle-aged superhero. He comes onto his powers accidentally, and then that's kind of what the story's about. And then he's got these funky, interesting supervillains that are.
Are you a supervillain?
I'm not a supervillain. My character is actually the best friend of the superhero.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You got a pretty big role there, huh? It's
More
going to be full
less.
length, right?
It's a full length. It's more or less going to be slated for a trilogy based on how the first one goes.
Okay.
So
cool.
The producer and director, who is actually the main character, Bradman, his name is Brad. Pretty original, right? Brad. Yeah. He actually wrote this in college initially when in his younger days, but now it never really materialized into what he wanted to. So now I think it's coming back like full circle. He finally got funds to produce it. He wrote the script a little bit, and now, it's out there. So hopefully in a couple of months we'll get to see it on the big screen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. John, how's your acting career going?
Awful.
Awful?
Yeah.
Why?
I haven't took any classes.
Nothing?
Plus, I got no interest in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. That.
I don't know why you try to convince me.
You should join.
I'm not trying to
No.
convince you.
Vagabond.
No, I'm not. No.
It's not. It's fun.
I'm sure it is. It sounds fun, but it's not my cup of tea.
Why? Why?
'Cause I feel like once the spotlight's on, I'm gonna have a panic attack.
Isn't there a spotlight on you right now?
Yeah. Nobody's behind it though.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not. No,
Pretend
it's
they're not there.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. That's what
No.
you're supposed to do.
I can't do that.
You're
No.
doing it right now.
Yeah, but
I mean,
no.
you tend to look at the camera more than anyone on this
I'm not.
that comes here, but
You criticize me when I read lines to you.
yes, because that's you're not even trying.
That's my Achilles heel. I can't
Reading
I can't
lines.
speak. That's a problem. I can play like a mime or I don't know, something like that. But yeah, no.
John,
no
I have confidence in you, man.
I'm sure you do.
You can do anything you want to do.
Oh yeah.
Get inspiration from Arnold Schwarzenegger.
There you go. Hey, he did it.
Hey.
Wasn't very good at it, but he did it.
Are you kidding me? That
Yes.
man's
He's not
a
that good,
living
bro.
legend.
Please give us your opinion of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, who's your favorite actor?
Who's your favorite actor?
I'd probably have to go with De Niro. I think
He's good.
Favorite actor,
He's
and
good.
then I'm a DiCaprio
So dismissive.
fan too.
He's good. You're Robert De Niro. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's all right.
Yeah.
I've heard of him. Some of his stuff.
Who you guys got? Favorite actors?
John,
Oh, you already know who it is.
well, defend your case. Defend your case, please.
I've done so like 100 times.
Well,
Come
obviously
on.
not well enough because everybody always thinks you're out of your fucking mind.
I just say that for somebody who English was his second language, he did really well and he's successful. So, I mean,
I will give you the successful part.
he's got a lot of drive. I mean, he for me, it was like growing up in the 90s, like all those action heroes, him, Van Damme, Stallone to a lesser extent.
Stallone was better, bro.
No,
He's a better actor. He might not be a bigger.
your main
Action
criticism of Schwarzenegger is, oh, he can't talk. But I mean,
No.
Stallone's worse.
Let me tell you, Stallone has an Academy Award. What does Arnold Schwarzenegger have?
All the money in the world.
He became governor.
Yeah,
I mean,
Governator.
if the goal is to win an Academy Award, if that is the cream of the crop, that is the
For
WWF
who?
championship
For who?
for every actor.
Not every actor.
That is the pinnacle. That if you're I'm not saying you should be in it for winning awards, right? But if you consider it being, let's say, wrestling, professional wrestling, the goal is to be WWF champion or WWE or whatever that you call it
sure.
nowadays. That's the goal, right? If you don't have that goal, then what are you doing this for?
But
if your goal isn't to be the greatest actor there is, if your goal isn't that,
you can have many goals just to be known, just to have a lot of money. I mean, I'd rather have the money and the fame than the statue.
you don't do this for the passion, brother.
I don't do this at all.
I know,
What are you talking about?
I know. I mean, what do you get what I'm saying?
No, I hear you, but I think the one area I'll give Schwarzenegger props is that he parlayed that whole bodybuilding thing into a very successful, career later on. And even though like maybe he couldn't talk or as well or whatever it is, I still give him his dues.
I give him his dues in the sense that I think he's an actor and he's done well for himself and making himself like a brand and
for sure
everything that he does outside of acting. But I will never say he's a great actor. That would be
for sure.
That would be
blasphemy. To
Yeah,
all actors
yeah.
everywhere,
That's just like I can't do it, and that's why I'm telling you.
I
I think
I get it, and
I can give Stallone.
I'm
Stallone is a
joking
better
around when
actor.
I say that.
I know you are, but Stallone is a better actor.
Okay,
He's a better actor than Arnold.
yeah.
May not be as big of a selling point because Arnold is bigger and has more popular films, I guess, if you want to call it. Even then, they really didn't have too many popular films that are super popular. Like Terminator and Terminator 2 are probably the most popular Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Yeah.
And Rocky is the most popular.
And Rambo.
Oh, there you go. And what else besides those? Arnold-wise. That were like, everybody knows this movie.
I don't know.
Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All
Hey,
the Way,
hey, people know that one.
Junior.
People know that one.
There you go.
Twins.
Or
It's
Last
Conan
Action
the
Hero.
Barbarian.
No,
Last
Conan the
Action
Barbario. The Barbario. He's Puerto Rican.
Barbaro.
Conan the Barrio.
Yeah, he was. What is up with me? Every time I swear to you, every time we turn on the mics, I wasn't a big fan of that movie.
No.
I think Predator was probably more my thing than Conan was, or
Yeah.
Conan, not Conan.
Yeah.
Conan. Yes.
It just looked cheesy, Conan the Barbarian.
But
I don't
it
know.
was one of his
Like,
first
It
films.
was the
though.
80s,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Everything was cheesy.
Yeah.
in the
He didn't really
80s.
know what to do at that
Yeah.
point yet. You know,
It was
it was
just,
kind of like watching
hey,
The Rock and watching him in Scorpion King.
Take your shirt off,
Yeah.
wear
It's
some
rough.
fuzzy underwear, and show off your muscles. That's
Isn't that what he's
in?
in every movie?
Take
Isn't
a
that the same
sword.
thing in every movie?
That's his thing.
Yeah.
It's wheelhouse.
Anyways, my favorite actor is Gary Oldman. He's in you know who he is?
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
there we
And
go.
Finally,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
You're full of
somebody
shit.
knows?
Finally, a lot of people know who he is.
He's
No.
talented.
85% of the time when he says that, the person has no idea. They're puzzled. Really?
And they're crazy.
Yeah, I swear on everything. Am I lying? No, I'm not lying.
I would say it's like a 70-30 split.
Yeah, okay.
70 and they actually know. Then the 30% don't know. But the thing about Gary is that Gary's not he's never really been like the main character. He's usually a villain to a main character. And usually the people he works with are big names too. So it's like, not that he gets outshined. Maybe.
More or less, I think.
He gets shadowed.
Yeah.
You know, in every movie he's been in, but he's been great in most of the movies he's been. I've never seen a movie where Gary Oldman did not do well.
No, yeah.
True,
you know?
true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think he picks roles that are very adequate to like
his style,
his stature. Like he's believable. It's not like random. Where,
and he's almost like a chameleon sometimes too, because like in all his roles, like they're not identical. Like in most of his roles, they're all different. You know, I think he was in Fifth Element. He played that gangbanger Drax or Draxel, something like that. Like that character is crazy as compared to him playing James Gordon or the guy from the Book of Eli. I forgot the guy's name, the character's name. You know, it's completely opposite of what it is. You know, or when he played the Russian from an Air Force One. You know, it's like completely different. Or from Leon the Professional.
Yeah.
Like that movie was great. And like they're all different characters. You know, it's almost like the Heath Ledger thing with the Joker. Like you forgot it was Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Even though he thinks that's
second best Joker of all time.
You're crazy.
Yeah,
Who do you think is the best Joker of all time?
Is Jack Nicholson your favorite?
No.
He's talking about Joaquin Phoenix. He likes Joaquin Phoenix from the Joker movie.
You know, I would put them in two different categories. I can't compare the two because the movie is so different. Like the Joaquin Phoenix one is so artistically done, I feel, compared to the one Heath Ledger did where he's just so dark and, you know, crazy. I don't know. I feel like the Jokers are just different. I don't know. I can't compare the two in the same.
Well, at least you didn't say Jared Leto.
Who would have done?
If you would have said Jared Leto.
Oh my God, yeah. I probably should just walk out of here.
Really good. That's really good.
Jared Leto. Well, I'll tell you what. He didn't look bad in that little clip he had in the Snyder cut one. It was
overdoing it, maybe, but yeah.
It almost gave me a glimpse of wanting to see where that would have went going forward.
True.
Kind of.
Intriguing,
but I would have waited for that to come out on DVD.
Yeah,
like it would have been. I'm not running to the theater to see Jared Leto play the Joker.
No. You're gonna watch.
No, not at all. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it because I'm a fan of superhero flicks. But to watch Jared Leto, I mean, I'm not getting out of bed for it.
No,
just me. I mean, again, it's not partial. It's not his fault because I know he's a very, very he's a very talented actor and he really takes his roles very seriously. He's kind of like a Christian Bale kind of guy, you know. So I kind of blame it more on the production than I do on him because I mean they told him what to do.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what I'm saying?
More cartoony rather than him actually coming onto his own with the character, you know, and like that Joker in that I guess DC like space just looks more childlike, so to speak. I don't know, that Joker compared to like the one that Heath Ledger did. I don't know.
Now, mind you, it was like almost the concept of, so Jack Nicholson did the Joker. He did it very well.
Yeah.
And then imagine the pressure Heath Ledger had, right? He did extremely well, right? So now here comes Jared Leto a couple years later. Like it was a letdown. Yeah. It was a letdown from the get-go.
Yeah.
You know, but no letdown was any bigger than the movie Batman and Robin with your boy Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was the biggest superhero letdown ever.
That was a pretty bad
That's the best
movie.
part of it.
What?
That's the director's fault. You can't.
Yeah, the character was cool. Mr. Freeze was cool. I liked him, but I think the movie overall was pretty bad. I think Uma Thurman
was horrible.
Was bad too, and that
stinking
Poison Ivy.
Clooney. I know he had something to do with it.
You know what's fucked up about that movie is that they all had a bunch of A-listers.
Yeah.
Every single actor in that movie was very, very talented.
It's like an NBA super team that wins like 10 games.
It was like the Lakers in the 2000s when they had Karl Malone, Gary Payton, all these, and they ended up losing in the playoffs.
But he's right. The production was really whack with the Batman movies in the past. Like all these whack like henchmen like jumping around in like colored outfits and shit. Like It's like,
But that was the WB's fault
yeah.
because they didn't like Tim Burton when he was doing the first two.
Mhm.
So the first two were really dark, right?
Yeah.
So like the one with Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito,
Mm-hmm.
those were all really dark. And then they wanted to sell toys. That was the biggest problem. There's a big documentary about this. McDonald's had a deal with them to do toys for Batman Returns. But the kids were terrified of the penguin and it was really dark. Parents didn't want to take their kids to fucking watch the movie. So when they decided to sign for the third and the fourth film, the WB said, we don't care about story. We care about selling toys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Tim Burton didn't want to do it because he had an image of what he wanted his movie to be. So he slipped down to a producer role. Then Michael Keaton said that he wasn't going to do it unless Tim Burton did it. So he left.
Fair.
And then here comes Val Kilmer. And who was the Robin guy? Why can't I ever
Chris
think?
O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell.
Yep.
Yeah.
They come in and they toned it way down because they brought in Jim Carrey. They brought in Tommy Lee Jones. That was the worst thing I ever saw Tommy Lee Jones do. Lee Jones do ever in my
Two-Face,
life.
That was.
I mean, it was just not Two-Face. Two-Face, how's Two-Face goofier and stupider than freaking the Riddler? And Jim Carrey of all actors, right? Who's the goofiest actor of all
I
time.
heard, didn't they like kind of hate each other
Who?
on set?
Jim and Tommy?
Yeah.
I heard something like that too. Because I feel like Jim, maybe it was a one-up thing.
Trying to be funnier.
Yeah, like you can't one-up me. What are you talking about? I'm Jim Carrey, motherfucker. The fuck? But then it got worse. If you could believe that. Because Batman Forever was pretty bad. But it was watchable. Even now, you can watch it. Not enjoy it, but you can watch it. But then Batman and Robin is just god awful. Like, there's no part of that movie that's ever playing on TV that I want to sit down and watch it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it just looks very just out of place. Like even Uma Thurman's acting as Poison Ivy is just like, you're like, really? And she's a talented actress.
Yes, she is.
Like in Kill Bill, you're like, holy shit, in Kill Bill. And then you see her in this, you're like, what the fuck?
I think what they did was that they hired all these people to try to sucker people to watch it. Because you would think all these big names, you would think the movie's going to be good. I mean, I don't know. I remember how much it sold. That's why it took a while for me to go watch like the first Christian Bale Batman movie. Because I had such a bad taste in my mouth from Batman movies because of Batman and Robin and all that.
Yeah.
It took me a while. But they had an A-list cast too. They had a lot of good actors in that movie. You know, they had Michael Caine, they had Liam Neeson, they had Christian Bale, they had Morgan Freeman, they had Gary Oldman, they had all these characters, and I'm like,
Katie Holmes.
Yeah, Katie Holmes was still in it before she got pregnant and had to quit. The guy who plays the Scarecrow, he's really good too.
He's good too. Yeah.
I forget his name. Crap, he's got a unique look.
I
That
call
dude,
him the guy from 28 Days Later. That's what I.
Is he
call
from
him.
28 Days Later?
Yeah. You're right.
That dude has the most unique look. Like, I know why they pick him in roles because he just has a look that you just want to like look at him for some reason. I don't know what it is. I mean, he's not
crazy eyes.
Yeah.
He's not the best looking dude in the world, but like you just want to look at him. Like,
He fits that character really well.
Yeah, it was every role that I've seen him in is like he looks interesting to look at. Have you ever seen the behind the scenes stuff from Batman Begins?
No, I
he
haven't.
auditioned for Batman.
Really?
Yeah, and he almost got it. So it was him, some other guy, and Christian Bale, and they built sets. Because they were like obviously the last ones they were going to pick from. So they built a set and they were running lines from the actual film. They lit it up just like a movie or whatever. And he did really good, but he's just not your typical good looking
Right. To carry the film.
Bruce Wayne,
type,
you know? So they gave it to Christian Bale. But the director, Christopher Nolan, liked him so much that they wanted him in the movie. So they gave him the Scarecrow thing, and I'm like, that was a perfect choice. Like he's great. He's awesome. I wish I can see him more.
I kind of wish they did more with him in the movie.
Yeah,
kind
me
of
too.
like cut it really short. And
then they gave him those little cameos in the other two.
Yeah.
But I wish they would have gave him more because really he's not the bad guy. The bad guy's Liam Neeson.
Exactly.
Right? The whole Ra's al Ghul thing or whatever. Liam Neeson is a funny character too because he's another one where I'm like, is he really, really talented, or is he really, really good, or is he really, really good at playing himself?
He's kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger in that sense, where he does the same kind of movie and he doesn't get out of there. But
yes,
the interesting thing is he's made such a big bang off of that same type of role.
Why
where
change it?
people still, I don't think I've seen Liam Neeson in a different type of movie.
Every movie he's kicking somebody's ass
Yeah.
and he's saving somebody.
Exactly.
Every movie, except maybe the Batman movie, because he's the
He's
villain.
the bad
He's
guy.
a villain.
Yeah.
But most of the time, he's the hero, and he's kicking a bunch of people's asses, and he's old as hell, and that's kind of what it does. He saves his daughter, saves his wife, saves this person, saves that person. It's kind of the same thing with him. But he's more talented than Arnold would be. I think he has more talent.
I think he'd be a great bad guy if he like did more darker roles. I think he'd be pretty good.
I think it's too late for him. He's kind of
Yeah,
he's kind of old. It's like, have you seen Morgan Freeman recently? Holy crap, he looks aged.
Really?
Like, man, yeah. He was on a like an interview, a web interview talking about COVID and all this, and he looks. I mean, he was old.
He's got to be like damn near 80, right?
He looked old when he was doing that.
He's up there.
When he did that slavery movie. What was that movie called? The one he said you get busy dying or you get busy running or something like that.
Yeah.
What's that movie called? Crap. It's like one of his first big roles.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
It's like a Civil War type flick.
Roots?
No, maybe.
I
Whatever.
don't
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We all know what I'm talking about. He looked old then.
Yeah.
He's really good too.
He started late too. He started when he was like 40.
Yeah, he got his first gig when he was really old. That's
So-
inspiring
How
to
could
me.
you say that he's good when he does the same thing Arnold does?
Who?
He doesn't
Morgan
change.
Freeman?
He sounds the same. It's the same person every movie.
But he has a charm to him. Arnold does not have a charm to him.
What's the charm?
I don't know what
He
it
uses
is.
his voice a lot in a lot of
Southern
voiceover stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got
he
that.
does.
He's got that.
I wish I had his voice.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
Or
like
like a Patrick
soothing.
Stewart voice. Like they just have this
Boy,
voice
that's
to
a
them.
gig right there. Like staying home, just doing
Voiceover?
Voiceovers, yeah.
narrating.
I've always said it. That my dream job would be to voice a character on Family Guy.
That'd be dope.
Fuck.
You have the chops for that.
First of all,
My
if
friend.
Mila Kunis
Uh-huh.
voices Megan, that's all she does, right? And it's her voice.
She's funny.
What the hell's the difference?
I
You
don't
do know
Your voice is just like
you do know that she's probably not funny. You know the writing is probably funny. You do know that, right?
yeah, but with her voice, her voice has something to it. Your voice is just.
I'm not saying.
I'm not trying to insult you.
No, I know.
think my voice is the same.
My
way
vo-
too.
this is
But I
why-
can do voices.
this is
You
why
don't
I've
do
always
any of
said
that stuff.
This is why I've always said that I don't. It's going to be hard for me to get away from certain roles because I cannot really. My voice is not appealing, in a sense. It's good for what it does.
Not
if you need me
at
for
all.
a bad person or a bad guy or whatever, that's me. You need me to be a hero? That's not going to work. Probably not. You know,
I will save you.
I don't talk like you when you read fucking lines for me, bro. Stop that shit. That's how you read lines.
I'm doing you a favor. You
I know. I'm not saying, but you're talking shit to me, so I'm gonna throw it out.
beggars can't be choosers.
So, what do you find the hardest to do in acting? Like, what do you struggle with?
I think sometimes it's like, you'll get this massive script and then you're chosen for the role, but you'll get like bits and pieces of the script and then they're ready to go into production maybe like a week later and you have this massive script and you have to memorize it. I think I like working with directors who kind of work with the vibe of the film and you can kind of ad lib and kind of create as you go along compared to people that you work with who are so stringent with the box that you can work with. And sometimes that becomes, I think, very cumbersome, in its own right. Because now you go on set, you have the script memorized, and then it's like, if you don't hit one or two words, they're like, well, no, let's reshoot it again, So I don't know.
So you talk about like you run into situations where it's like they want it verbatim.
Sometimes, yeah, like you
Wow.
read the script and they really want like it to hit like line for line. So
I don't think I've ever run into that. And anything I've done,
That's good.
You
You're
think
lucky.
it's somebody who wrote and is directing it, so they wrote it a certain way and they want it just
Maybe.
like that.
Possibly.
maybe
Yeah.
I
I
can
think
see where
they'd
that
be
would
a
make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've never run into that. Where I mean, don't get me wrong. I think we have to give the writer their due diligence. Is that the right word?
Yeah, but you
Right.
should
You have to like.
the ability
For
to
You have to
freelance
respect
a
it.
little
Like
bit.
I think since I took a class, an online class one time, and it was with this actor, and he said that 90% of his auditions, it's not on script, but you cannot change the story,
For sure.
right? So I can add whatever I want to add as long as the story. Now you want to use the words that they have. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying rewrite the whole fucking thing, whatever.
Right.
But if you can change something so that it's more you or whatever, as long as it doesn't make a U-turn on the story, I think that's completely acceptable. And I've never run into a problem with that. And recently, when me and him do auditions or whatever, I've been more liberal with my words.
Okay.
In the sense of, because sometimes the script just doesn't make sense. Or that's not how I would say something.
But do you feel that because of that, you get kind of maybe chosen over? I mean, I know you never hear back like feedback ever from an audition, but not sticking to the word. Sometimes they're like, well, he didn't follow directions. So
maybe
I don't know.
maybe not.
Because I struggle with that too. Like, you know, this sounds better or it's more me, but then it's like, do I stick to what's on the script? Because now I don't know what the casting director is really looking for. And essentially you'll never know.
Right. I mean,
But,
that it could work. Like you said, it's a 50-50. It's a toss up because you really, it could work in your favor and maybe it won't. You know, maybe they'll be like, maybe they've read it 100 times already because they've auditioned 100 people. And when you change it up and it's like, oh, this is refreshing. This looks different.
Stands out.
This stands out. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not saying go and if the auditions about the Chicago Bulls start talking about the Titanic, that's just dumb.
For
right?
sure.
You know, but if you want to, because at the end of the day, I don't know about you. You're probably at a different level than I am. Right now in my career, it's weird to call it a career. It's a career. It's a career of auditioning right now. What it is. I don't think I'm at a level where I really, really want to create characters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of like the character is me, but with a twist. If that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? I think at some point you get to a level where you're a completely different person of who you are, right? I think right now, especially with my professional stuff, like with stuff that I get from my agency, like I think they don't really care if you're a murderer and you change your whole whatever, because at the end of the day, the main cast is booked. You're getting something this small. They're looking at you because you look a certain way.
Sure.
Show them you, add a little bit, but don't focus so much on creating this Joker character or whatever. I mean, you can play with it, but I think at some point we all get to that level, you know. And I think right now, especially with the stuff that we're probably going to book in the next 5 years, which is probably 5 lines, whatever. If we're lucky enough, you know, we get a reoccurring character. If we're lucky enough, I think we just have to keep learning. You know, like that's why I want to get back into the classroom, because it's like I almost feel stale right now. You know. Because I haven't done it in so long, you know. I don't know about you. Like, what do you? I won't say struggling, but like,
no, I mean it is right. It's a struggle, and I think it's an opportunity too to like keep sharpening your skills, like I said. But I think being in front of the camera or working on independent projects, or I think that short film that you worked on your own, right? Like, you have to constantly be doing something. I think to keep your skills sharp at the same time, stay relevant too in the game, because stuff is changing all the time.
Absolutely.
Right? Character-wise, like you said, or being yourself, or if you're trying to be a character that you don't think you'd play well in, but maybe you create a short story of your own and maybe that does well. And someone sees it, they're like, holy shit, that guy he plays it really well. So I don't know. I feel like in short films or indie films, you have a way better chance to recreate yourself without the pressure of saying, oh man, like I don't know how well I do in a bigger production, because now it's like, I'm not saying that like it doesn't matter, but your ability to really do what you need to creatively, you can really let the juices flow. I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair. Did you watch my short film?
I did.
What did you think? Honestly. No filter here.
Well, I think
I'm just curious, because a lot of people watch it and won't say nothing, because a lot of people like to smile in your face. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll say, "Oh, it was great." Like I have no problem with people telling me, "You know what? I would have done this," because that makes me think. Okay,
told
cool.
You what I would have done.
Nothing.
I think the music was overly dramatic.
Maybe, possibly. I think I had. You know what? I think the biggest thing I hated about it, and when I watch it back, I feel like the beginning dragged so long. I could have cut that in half, because it's a really long. Fair. It's a really long, like 3 minutes of where I start the film to the conversation I have with my coworker. That was a really long process. And I'm like, I like the way it looked, but I look back at it now and I'm like, how many people are going to double tap on the forward button till we get to something that's happening on the screen? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like watching one of those movies that have really, really, really long intro parts, like kind of like Rocky. Like it always has this really long, you know, beginning, and then we finally, like 5 minutes later, we get it's like a montage thing, or there's like 5 minutes of credits in the beginning of the film, and like, oh, come here, forward. You know what I'm saying? I think that's one of the things I hated about it. Not hated, but I would have done differently. What did you think?
Yeah, I think like I don't remember the total length of your film, but I remember some spots like kind of lagging. Like you have your scenes that you're kind of by yourself, like in your room and stuff, and like I saw some of those scenes lag. I think just a little bit. I think it gives a good like facial expressions. It really allows the viewer to kind of get into your head, I feel. And then, but I feel like you could have shortened some of those because they get a little lengthy and then you kind of lose the attention of the viewer.
Agreed.
And then there's that one scene where you're at the river talking to the girl. And I forget the subject matter, but I thought that kind of somewhat came off as a little forced too. Like I get like the dialogue that you guys had is like intense, like you're talking to her, whatever. But like I felt like I was looking at your facial expressions more. It's because I know you says focus more on you, but I felt like some of the stuff was like I felt it could have been more like relaxed and more natural. I felt you were trying to like be into that character.
I was
more,
trying to, I was trying to make it more of a serious thing than it probably should have been.
Yeah, or you just could have been yourself and been like, you know, delivered that line or whatever.
Good
you
point.
know, just kind
Good
of
point.
casual. But I think otherwise, like, I think good work overall. The camera work I think was good. Production wise, I think you did well in my opinion. You know, so
there's a lot of things I think I would have, again, like everything, even with the police one that you saw, like I don't even want to watch it because I'm like, God, I could have done it so much better. But then again, everything you learn with time.
For sure.
Like you said, it's your first one. Same thing with the cop thing. Like if I can go back and do it all over again, obviously I think I would do it a lot better. You know? But enough about acting. Let's talk about real life. Acting's fake life. I'm kidding. Jonathan, you wanted to talk. You wanted to talk about something.
I didn't want to talk
Yeah,
about
you
it. I
did.
said we were talking about it.
Okay,
before
let's
guest
talk
show.
about it. Bring it up.
Nothing that.
Now you get cold feet?
I'm being mandated to take the shot at work, and I don't think that's fair.
Are you ever going to take it?
I think I will.
Okay.
For sure. But it's like, okay, if you're mandating me to take something, shouldn't I be able to say, okay, but can I have something in writing saying that if I get any like adverse effects, you're to pay for my whatever hospital bills or something like that? I think, why not? Like, if you're not willing to do that, then why should I even take the shot in the first place?
But I'm curious, like, let's just say you get COVID. I mean, God forbid you do or whatever. I don't know if you've had it, but let's say you do get, if you get it, what is your alternative? Like, would you rather just suffer and, you know, go through the actual process of getting COVID?
I think, like for the most part, people who suffer from it have like, prior
underlying
medical
illnesses and stuff. Sure.
I don't think I got any of that stuff.
But how would you
Honestly,
know?
I think I've got.
How would you know? How would you know for sure that you would react positively to it?
Because I think I've already gotten it.
Do you have confirmation that you had it?
Can you? Is there a test?
Yes.
Antibodies.
Yeah, they stick it in your nose.
I got to take one of those. Because there's no way.
I mean, you can't know now. I mean, I don't know. Can you know after the fact that you had it?
Why not?
You can. I mean,
because some people have natural
No,
antibodies.
Yeah, it doesn't it create something in your body
technically
where you could tell.
Technically,
you should be able to like know if you have
give
it
you antibodies,
yeah.
but you could have had them naturally.
Yeah.
There's some people that had it. Like when COVID first started, there was people that were testing for antibodies, and they tested that they had it without even having. So I mean, it is a possibility.
Listen, I watch a lot of TikTok. I know that's probably where you shouldn't get your news from.
Probably not.
But I don't know. I just don't like being forced to do things.
I don't think they're forcing you.
Yes, they are. Yes, they
No,
are.
they're not.
It's take the shot or lose your job.
That's not the
How
case.
is that not being forced?
Because you have the right to work there or not. You can choose to say yes or no.
Okay. Yes, I want to work there. Okay.
Okay. Now you have to abide by their rules
No, well,
and their requirements.
No.
What do you mean? No, that's how it works.
No.
That's how everything works.
No.
All the time. Every employer has requirements, and you either do them
So
or you
you're
don't.
giving the employer universal power to do whatever they want to do.
I don't want to say it's universal, but when it comes to requirements for medical or safety or anything of that nature, which this is going to fall under the category of safety. You want to agree with it or not?
Like the
If
HIPAA law, something. You're not supposed to know my medical stuff, are you?
They're not saying they need to know your medical. They just need to know if you're.
They need to know if I got vaccinated.
Right, but it's a safety thing, man. It's a safety thing. If agree with it or not, it's a safety thing.
How is it a safety thing, though?
Because you are highly more contagious.
No.
Tell me that I am, please.
A vaccinated person
Is more
can spread it as well, right?
Correct. And who can get it more?
From the TikTok.
Who can get it more? Even if I can carry it, even if I can carry it, who is more likely to catch it? You or me?
I mean, I would say me.
Okay, so are they not doing this to protect you?
I don't think so. They're just doing it just to do it.
Oh.
But why is that, you think? Like, I'm honestly really curious because
following course. They're just following.
Like, do you?
Everybody else is doing it. So,
like, serious question. Do you really think it's a hoax? Because I hear that from so many people.
I do not think it's a hoax. I actually said that in front of my cousin, and he was like, "No, I got it," and it's like
Rafi got it. He was on his freaking almost on his deathbed. He said, right. "Damn, did you have to squeeze that bottle?"
Sorry about that. He was a big boy at the time.
Again, listen. I don't think the government should force you, but the government is not forcing you to do something.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not. The government has never said you have to do something. The government said you have to wear a mask.
They're saying you have to, or you're going to get fired.
No, that's not the government. That is your employer. Two different things.
I work for Cook County.
Sure, but Cook County is not the United States government.
It's government.
Sure, but it's again, and I'll tell you this, like I said earlier this morning. When something is private and it's owned, right, or run, right, it's an independent thing. There is someone who runs that, correct? Someone who owns that, correct? Should we not let them have the right to choose what they want to do when it comes to safety and all this stuff?
No, it depends on what.
But wouldn't you feel better having the vaccine, knowing that there is a serious illness out there that you could screw you up, like, anatomically, and God forbid that happens. But
the counter argument to that's going to be, well, the vaccine can do the same thing and we don't know it.
Well, no, that's not true, because a lot of people's misconception is that when you get vaccinated, they're putting COVID inside you. And that is a big, big misconception. Medically, they are not putting any of the actual virus in you. It is a placebo that's put inside you that helps your body know that, okay, if COVID were to come with the similar protein receptors and whatnot and how it affects your body, this is how your body needs to react. So when you actually do get COVID, that's how your body will react.
Correct.
Because so many people tell me that, oh no, they're putting actual COVID in me. No, that is a misconception.
Because of the flu thing, right? They think.
Yeah, and maybe they did that like 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But science has advanced so much now that they don't need to do that anymore. So, I went to my barber recently and I was like, hey man, he's got like a 5-year-old daughter, and he's like, did you get vaccinated? I'm like, yeah, because I got parents I see all the time, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm like, don't you have a daughter? Wouldn't you get vaccinated? He's like, nah, man, they're going to put COVID in me. He's like, I haven't gotten it yet, so I'm going to take my chances. So I feel like there's so much misinformation and the ability to think critically for a lot of people.
Yeah.
They just choose not to. Or like you said, and I'm not trying to diss on you, but
No, go ahead.
Please do it.
TikTok should not be where you're getting medical info, or like Instagram.
Facetiously.
And a lot of people are using COVID as a jumping point to prove like fallacies and make money off of it.
But the funny thing is, a lot of people think that they don't make money off these things. That these people are the ones that are saying that the vaccine is a problem, that they're not making any money off of this. And I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily believe that.
It garners a following, right, in the absolute opposite direction.
Exactly. So I mean, even just on YouTube, you probably can have your viewing and your following is going to double or triple if you agree with a particular party or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Like anytime, especially if you go against the grain, you're always going to have a group of people.
Of course. I've always tried to stand kind of neutral in these type of situations.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not going to say that you're wrong because I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But here's the difference is I'm man enough to admit that I don't know. That's the right answer. We don't know. It's like if you have someone who's in favor of the vaccine and someone who's against it, they're gonna plead their case and say, this is the evidence that shows over here, and this person's gonna say this is the evidence that shows this. So now how do we go about determining who's right or wrong?
But that's
it's hard.
But that's the thing, like to your point. And again, I'm very neutral, and I don't know. I will never impose on you that go get the vaccine. But just what,
Unlike
please,
my job,
please impose it.
unlike my employer.
Oh God,
I appreciate that.
But I think there's so much data out there telling you that if you don't get the vaccine, or people that haven't had it, right, like what's happened to them, or if you're talking about TikTok, right? So on Instagram, there's this doctor who's basically like, I went through X amount of years of med school, I did my PhD, blah, blah, blah. Then I came with a dissertation, and now he works with like infectious diseases. And he's like, this is what I came out with, spending 20 years in med school, being a doctor, blah, blah, blah. And I came up with the fact that COVID is real. Getting a vaccination does help you. Not saying it will remove COVID from your life forever. It does help you. And then you have someone on the other end saying, oh, that's bullshit. And that's currently how the argument is being stemmed, is that people that are saying don't get COVID, your basis is not rooted in science. It's rooted in maybe like what you believe in, or a fallacy, or your personal opinion that's being imposed. And that's really it. But medically, I don't, like to your point, you're saying like, okay, if I get it and something goes wrong or whatever, right? But that may happen if you get COVID anyway. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like for me, or the way I look at it, is some level of protection maybe is better than none. And because now there's so much data behind it, and I'm not saying CDC is perfect, right? Because now they're coming out with the fact that like being vaccinated and non-vaccinated, if you get COVID again, being vaccinated, you carry the same viral load as a non-vaccinated person. So it's not to say that, but the thing is you won't get as sick. And that is for a fact. Yeah. If you're vaccinated. So that's all. You know,
I don't know. I just look at the numbers, and the numbers speak basically for themselves, and they show that the vaccine is doing something, and in the positive way. I mean, realistically, before the vaccine went public, deaths were in the sky, right? We had a lot of deaths, a lot of cases, blah blah blah, and now we have an upsoar in cases, but we don't have nowhere near the amount of deaths, right?
Yep.
Can we say 100% that it was the vaccine? Maybe not. Can we say the vaccine is helping that problem? Absolutely. Because if you think about it, we didn't have the vaccine back then. People were dying left and right. And even if they are breakouts, right? Because I've never heard anybody say, I've heard people that debate it say, oh, but if the vaccine doesn't cure it, or if you can get it, then what's the point? The point isn't to not get it. The point is so you don't die from it.
Survive it.
Yeah.
Correct. It's like a flu shot or any other vaccine that we have. Any vaccine that we have doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to get it. It means that it heightens your ability to survive it. That's all it does, really, you know?
And the reason we have the variant is because so many people are not vaccinated. So each time a person who's not vaccinated gets the virus, it mutates when it replicates.
So that was like bullshit, the thing that they were saying. Like that the vaccination doesn't actually kill the coronavirus. So it mutated in a vaccinated person's whatever system and changed.
Maybe that's a possibility, because that's not illogical to think about, right? If you think about it, if someone who's vaccinated and the human body has enough to adapt to it, and it somehow survived in your body, the virus, it would try to protect itself as well. So I'm not saying that's completely off the wall.
So who the fuck knows? I just want to fast forward 20 years down the line.
But 20 years from now, that's going to be the norm. The norm is going to be vaccination is going to be part of the process. Just like anything else.
Like a flu, yeah.
Yeah, just like anything else. Just like hepatitis B when you go into school.
But the nice thing is I'll know that there's like actual like fucking it's been out for a while.
But let me ask you a question. Even if it was 20 years and it never went public, and let's say you only had like 100 people that they were testing this stuff on for 20 years, for 100 people, that make you feel better?
100?
No. How many people do you think they're going to test in a lab?
Thousands.
You know what the easier test is?
What?
Make it public. That's a massive test. This is how we figured things out. I mean, because again, in a lab, everything is perfect. Life isn't perfect. Every human being is different. Yeah, you can test in perfect conditions and people in hospitals and you're monitoring them and blah, blah, blah. But that's not your average life.
Yeah.
Everybody has different cases. Like if me and you can have diabetes, but we could be at different levels of diabetes. So what good is a test on me by myself for 20 years?
Yeah, you can have type A. I could have the
sure.
Type
so
1,
what good does 20 years in a lab do? Does absolutely nothing. You know what's more effective? You make it public. You make it safe enough where you're like, okay, nothing's really bad going to happen. You put it in the public and then you adjust because you know what's going on. Because the average person is going to get it and either something's going to go really good or something's going to go really bad. But the only way to find out is to actually put it out there.
Yeah.
All I know is
yes, it was done really fast. Don't get me wrong.
And yeah, it was.
It was really fast, but we've never seen anything like this. We've never seen anything spread this fast. This was Resident Evil 2.
It's crazy
in real life. That's what this was.
Yeah.
Except nobody turned into a zombie. People died.
Yeah.
But we've never seen anything like this. How did you expect? What would be a better response? I guess would be my question to you. If this started right now, what would be the better response?
Do I know now what we knew?
Sure. Let's say there was no vaccine. What would be the response in your case?
Shit.
Besides not mandate vaccines.
I mean, as soon as it started in China, just close the borders, not letting people fly over, and keep every country isolated, I guess.
But does it make you feel better that there is like some type of like solution to like keeping you healthy? I don't know. Like I know you may not, let's say you don't even take it, right?
Yeah.
And you keep going forward. But the fact that like, okay, there is a solution to maybe me staying healthy, because you see so many people like who get COVID right there on their deathbed and they're like, oh, can I get the vaccine now? But it's like, nah, man, it's too late. Like,
too late.
you know, like, so I don't know, man. Like, I think if 70-80% of the United States, let's just talk about that, like was vaccinated, you beat down the virus so much that the ability to spread doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But the reason Delta is alive and it's kicking everyone's ass right now is because there's so many people who don't get vaccinated. The virus mutates within unvaccinated people. It goes to the next person. And now you're dealing with a stronger, bigger strain. And that's why now people that are vaccinated are getting affected by it. But if let's say 75-80% of the world was vaccinated, you beat the virus to a point where it has no ability to be passed on to anybody.
I mean, that's what we did. That's what happened with like
it up to
polio.
now?
Yeah,
I mean, polio doesn't exist now because of the fact that the vaccine, basically everyone took it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it still probably exists, but it doesn't. You don't hear about it.
You are all about the polio, aren't you?
Because that was the last thing that we really. That's probably the last biggest one we actually quote unquote cured.
But to his point, there have been so many diseases, right? And they've created like solutions for it or vaccines for it. So why would it be worse, right? Like you may have taken something for measles, chickenpox, blah, 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 right? So why not then trust science and say for hundreds of years they've done a good job to keep our race alive and healthy?
I think it's the mentality nowadays, because the mentality is different than it was back in the 70s when whatever the other vaccines were made. So the mentality is different. Now everyone's mentality is opinionated and you're either left or you're right and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. So there's no trust in the government, but it's an unwarranted trust. It's an unwarranted untrust. I mean, really, why don't you trust the government?
It's not that I don't trust the government. And honestly, I was on the fence. But just the fact that you want to force me to do something pisses me off.
I feel like you're saying that incorrectly. We're probably gonna get flagged by YouTube for talking about this. No. I think you're speaking incorrectly.
I'm being forced by my employer to take
now you said it correctly.
Now
you said it correctly.
Yeah, I'm not being forced by the U.S. government or
correct.
Like
the U.S. government is not forcing you to take a shot or a jab.
Yeah, I just don't.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree that. I feel bad, right? Because I remember that, I don't know, I'm pretty sure everybody saw that post of the nurse that worked at a hospital for like 20, 30 years, whatever, and then she doesn't want to take the jab, so they're going to let her go. Everybody saw that. I mean, I get it. It sucks. That is a bad situation, right? But understand that there is someone who runs that hospital.
Correct.
Who their responsibility is the safety of
hundreds,
thousands, all of their employees.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they choose, because they have the right to choose what they consider safety or not, what they requirements. That's what they have departments for this stuff. HR departments that are for this shit to fucking figure out what do we need for this job to be safe. And if they so choose to say you as a requirement, you need to have the vaccine, that is within their right to do. Mm-hmm. And it is within your right to say yes or no. And then the next decision is, do I want to work here or not? That is your right. Your right is to decide if you want to work there or not. And if you don't want to get a vaccine, then unfortunately, It sucks,
I'm
but you're going to have to look for
gonna
employment
ask
elsewhere.
him, like, where was your interest in my health and safety when you had me spraying Roundup everywhere? Where was your interest in my health?
Did they give you a mask?
When you had me ripping up asbestos tiles?
Did they give you a mask?
With nothing?
With nothing?
Absolutely.
Then you should have
They didn't
sued
even
them.
say anything.
Then you should have sued
They
them.
didn't say, "Oh, those tiles have that in it." They just said, "Hey, rip up them tiles." Where was your interest in my health then?
I agree with you.
Now,
I agree with you.
Now?
That's wrong. I get it, but understand that this is something that doesn't. Asbestos is not something that happens every day. This is happening in record number. Well, was happening in record numbers.
yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So there's a different sense of emergency to this than it is like how my example, which is steel toe shoes. It's not a super emergency to get steel toe shoes. Yes, a lot of companies require it for their reasons, right? And nobody cares about that. I don't see anybody going on YouTube talking about, fuck that. I'm not wearing steel toe shoes. That's my choice if I want to get my toes crushed.
Start the movement.
I mean, you get what I'm saying?
I'd like to
I
wear
get that they're two
gym
different
shoes
things,
at my
right?
job,
Apples
too.
and oranges, right?
Sure.
But COVID is something that we've never seen in our lifetime. None of us. Even my parents' lifetime, and probably
It's crazy,
grandparents, we haven't seen anything like this, okay? So to react in this way, to me, is kind of weird for people to react this way. Like this whole thing against the vaccine. I mean, if you don't want to get it, don't get it. That's up to you. But at some point, you got to realize you're going to need this.
I know.
You're going to need
Believe
this.
me,
I mean,
it's in the back of my mind.
the vaccine isn't going to go anywhere. And in 20 years, people are going to, you're 20 years, you're going to feel more comfortable. And in 20 years, you're going to be like,
I'm pretty sure
20 years from now, you're going to be like, shit,
the
I should have got
vaccine
it.
they have now isn't going to be the same one they have 10 years from now. It's
Sure,
going to be
it's
like
probably-
updated. Much,
Absolutely.
But how do you deal with, like, let's say you have older parents or kids who are more susceptible to this? How do you feel about that? I'm just saying, like, forget yourself, right?
I
You may
get
be a
it.
healthy male.
Yeah.
You may even get COVID and you may not get affected. But let's say you have older parents, aunts, uncles, newborn kids, let's just say toddlers, whatever. Now they're so susceptible. So now let's say you get COVID, you'll be dandy. But now you pass it to them. I don't know, like, does that sway you one way or the other? Or you're just kind of like,
a little bit.
I mean, and you have
And-
kids
and-
too. You have
but
3 kids.
I don't think it affects kids that much. I mean, I'm sure it
They've
has,
been showing.
but
They've been
it's-
showing that younger kids are getting.
Yeah.
Are getting.
It's like,
are-
but that is that a risk you want to take? That's the thing. Like, let's say you have, I don't know, 4-year-old son or daughter, right? Like, they get COVID now. Let's just say, God forbid, they get it now, and you find out that it's through you. The fact that you could have possibly prevented that.
Yeah.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. Wouldn't
I
you
get it.
want to be on that side and be like, all right, at least I'm good?
But I'll play
Yeah, I
devil.
mean,
I'll
sure.
play devil's advocate to that. So like the problem is, then what if I take this vaccine? I'm taking a risk as well. So it's because we really don't know. I mean, people,
Sure.
I'm on the side of I lean more on the side of
Sure.
getting vaccinated
Well, you
than
are
not.
vaccinated.
I am vaccinated. So I mean, but I understand the risk that comes with that because this is an experimental drug, right?
You're right.
That we've been taking that we really don't know long term what it can do.
But to that, like, look at the data, right? Let's say 1 million people are vaccinated, right? 1 person had an adverse reaction. I'd take those odds personally. You know what I mean?
Wow, you sound like me.
The
I say the
odds,
same
that's
fucking
all.
thing.
The odds.
And the funny thing is these people that get their news from TikTok, they hear the opposite, right? They hear that no, it's coming from vaccinated people, and it's not.
yeah,
It's not like breakouts. I think there's in Illinois. I don't know if it was Illinois. I'm pretty sure it was Illinois. I don't think it was in United States wide. They were saying it was like 258 cases of it. I mean, that's
yeah.
not even this. You know what I'm saying? The numbers speak, right?
Yeah.
Now, the argument is whose numbers do we believe? Because we have the
I'm sure
FCC.
there's all types of
Sure.
We have all these
Yeah.
people on one side saying that's this, and then the other side saying the other. But I'm like, look, when I wish someone would say, who claims that the vaccine is a hoax, not a hoax, but like stupid or whatever. Like, do you really slow down and like listen to the opposite side and then make a decision,
Probably.
or do you just you just grab what you like and this is the right way?
And again, we're not saying you're wrong or you're stupid for not taking whatever. And it has nothing to do with that, really. But it's just like the ability to think critically, look at the data, follow that. And if that appeals to you and you think, all right, man, you know what? Maybe it does make sense. Cool. And if it doesn't make sense to you and you're like, this is whack, cool, don't take it.
I mean, I just always felt like it's gonna lean that way. it's always going to go towards vaccination. That's a given. It's going to go that route. I mean, and over time, people are going to gain more confidence in it and whatever. I mean, we've had it for about a year now. It's been public for a little less than a year. I haven't had a problem. Have you?
No, I mean, I'm vaccinated, but there's data now saying that if you had COVID and if you weren't vaccinated, that's better protection against COVID than getting the vaccine. It's just having
and that's
COVID.
why I want to get myself tested, because I saw that.
So I don't know.
Oh, so I mean, you have a stronger antibody if you had it.
Yeah.
Well, that makes that actually
then
makes.
It's like, do you want to go out and get COVID?
But that makes sense.
You know what I mean?
That makes logical sense.
But
Think
I
about
swear
that.
on everything. I have a lot of family, much of which has been like isolated. They barely go out, and they were the ones that got it, and I kind of just still kept going.
But I mean, you really don't know. You really don't know if you didn't get it.
If they got it, I must.
I feel like I had it. I feel like I had it once. I mean, I never had severe before the vaccine was around. Because I kid you not, and I may be wrong. Again, I don't know. This was before they added like sore throat to a symptom, because there was a time when it wasn't. So I kid you not, I spent, how long did symptoms last? For about 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks, yeah.
Okay. So I literally had the worst sore throat I've ever had in my life for about 2 weeks, right? And that's a sore throat, whatever. I called
taste? Did you lose taste?
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
But here's the crazy part. So I called my doctor, because I obviously you couldn't go to the doctor at the time. And she was like, you know what? Sore throat's not a symptom. It's probably just strep throat. Here's some penicillin, because that's what they give you for strep throat. And I know penicillin works because I've had it before. Took the penicillin, emptied out the whole jar, nothing. It was still lingered for 2 weeks straight, a little bit longer than 2 weeks. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then literally when I went back to work, when I went away, about 3 days after that, I hear on the news, oh, sore throat is a symptom of COVID. I'm like,
yeah, there you go.
I probably had it, and I didn't know. But now, here's the dangerous part. How many people did I give it to? Because it wasn't a symptom, quote unquote. And therein lies the problem, because there's the danger. You get what I'm saying? And yes, we can carry it. We can carry it, right? I could have been asymptomatic, and I can carry it. Even if I'm vaccinated, I get it. But it's the likelihood of who I can give it to. So again, if I have it right now, less chance of him getting it than you.
Yeah.
And there's the danger. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do at that point?
I don't know.
Again, I agree with you that it's
These
experimental.
Guys remember when this was like a 2 week thing? They said stay at home for 2 weeks.
That was never going to work.
Yeah, man.
Or the people that were saying herd immunity was going to kick in, or whatever. Herd immunity never kicked in. I mean, people were saying that
can't, because there's so many people that are not vaccinated. It can't.
What are the numbers?
We're
like 60, 50?
We're at 55, 60, I think, around there right now.
Percentage of what?
Percentage of people vaccinated currently.
Here in the city?
Or
in the
United States.
Well, United States, yeah. I mean, it was in the summer when Biden said by July he wants everyone vaccinated, like 80% rate. It climbed. It was at 40, 45, 50, 55, and then afterwards it just like
flatlined.
stopped.
Like flatlined.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still, when Chicago finally said we didn't have to wear masks for a while if you were vaccinated, Jonathan. It was funny because I still saw so many people
who wore them.
That wore them, and I'm not saying that they wore them because, like, my sister's vaccinated and she would still wear her mask. So maybe a lot of them were vaccinated and still wore it. But it was just, I'm like, man, we really don't want to get over, like, people don't want to get over this mask thing, because the only way we're really going to get over this, if you really wanted to, is if we all get vaxxed. And it sucks to say, right? Because some people just really don't want to get it. But we're never going to move on until we all follow suit, unfortunately.
Eventually, people are going to realize somebody in the family is going to get it. Like a family.
And that's what sucks. Do you really want to wait for that?
And that's when it hits home. Be like,
that's what sucks. You're going to wait till somebody passes away for you to finally be like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should have got it. Or 20 years pass by. Like I said, like 20 years are going to pass by, and then people are going to be like, you know what? I should have got it back then. You were right. Yeah. You were right. Anyways, you're wrong here, John. You need a new job.
Apparently.
Yeah, you probably. No, you know what?
This right here better.
I disagree. I disagree with companies doing that, because I don't think that's necessarily fair. I think they should. I don't know what they should do, but sometimes I feel bad because it's a bad situation. They're putting you in a bad situation.
It's a no win-win. I think even for them, like, it's not they want to put this onus on you to get vaccinated, but what do you do really? You know, you're responsible.
I think the government. This is where I feel the government should step in. If the government really cared, they should do like a package for people that happens to. So like if you get fired for refusing to get a vaccination, the government should give you unemployment like it was during COVID, where you can make more money being on unemployment than working. Those were good
Yeah,
times
yeah.
back then. Those were good times, even though I never got a chance to benefit from that. But
I feel like
Wish I did, yeah.
America's like a teenager. You don't fucking tell it what not to do, or else that's what they're gonna do. You gotta suggest. And I think it would have been so much better if they just said, listen, for your health, take the shot, and not start forcing like mandates and stuff like that.
I think the government should always stay away from making choices for people medically. In general,
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Agreed.
Same thing with the whole Texas thing. That pisses me off, but that's dumb too. The whole abortion thing. That's kind of weird too.
That's moronic, I think. So moronic.
They're literally getting to, damn, John, was that you?
No.
Who was that? Is that somebody's stomach? Never mind.
That could be me.
It was you?
That
You
could
hungry?
be me.
You
I
getting
think that could
hungry?
be me.
All right.
I'm good.
So fucking Texas is getting close to the whole no abortions whatsoever.
But I don't know how you uphold that. Like logically, how do you keep that upheld and not have that overturned? I think whatever like the courts they went to, like for now it may be a thing, but then eventually, like how do you, being a real live human, how do you go to sleep at night and say, okay, let's say it happened to your own daughter, your mom or whatever, right? She gets raped, whatever, and now she's stuck with that child or whatever.
See, I think that's normally the excuse a lot of the conversation people have, like, okay, rape, and most people, even John, who's he's very religious, because we have to say he's very religious because he's going to use that as an excuse to get his COVID exemption. They believe in even someone like Kim would say, if you get raped, that's probably an option for you to
I've
get
said it
an
from
abortion.
the very beginning.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I go a step forward and say that's no one's choice, but the woman's, period, if she wants to have a child or not. That is no one else's choice. Now, I'm in the middle because I'm like, okay, do I think it's distasteful to terminate a child past months and months and months? I think it's distasteful. I mean, again, it's not my choice, but me personally, I think I don't even want to say morally wrong. I just feel like, you know what? You already got that far. Just whatever. Just at that point, the damage to your body was kind of done already. So just finish. You know what I'm saying? That's me. But to say you cannot have an abortion at all is tough.
But let me ask you this real quick. Let's just say, like you said, let's say you're past that point. You said the damage to your body is like you have the kid, right? But my thing is like, let's just say you're not capable of being a parent.
I agree with that. 100%.
Why take that baby and bring it to the world when you cannot be a parent? You drop it off at a shelter or whatever. I think that's more damaging because now that boy or girl is going to have to live 50, 60, 70 years, whatever, how long.
You get a round of applause for that, brother. I agree with you 100% on that. I just told him earlier today, I was like, so what you're implying or what you want to happen is you want the government to force people to have children, even if they're incapable or unfit to be parents.
And that's more.
You want them to have kids. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is just wild to me. Like, I don't know why you do that, because
it would be like if you had a woman who committed murders for a living and she happened to get pregnant, right? You want her, and let's say she wanted an abortion. Let's just say she wanted to keep killing me young and not have kids. Yeah. You're telling me you want that woman to have children.
Listen.
That's what you're telling me.
My argument from since forever was we're at a point where if you don't want to get pregnant,
correct,
there's plenty of shit not to get pregnant.
Correct.
So what's going on here? Why does that have to resort to?
Because people have the choice to have unprotected sex. It's a freedom that you have. You can choose to do that if you want to.
And some no freedoms, I guess.
No. If you have freedom, it's freedom. Well, now there's no percentage to.
But what if it's an accident? Let's say you're being careful, but contraception doesn't work. What do you do then?
Well, and
those are rare. Well, they're not that rare.
This would not be such a huge deal if there weren't so many abortions. What are the numbers?
What do you? I was about to ask you. What do you think the numbers are? Do you really think it's that sky high?
I think it's higher than it probably should be if people took every precaution not to get pregnant. I mean,
what do you think should be a good amount?
I don't know. I would have to see the numbers. I don't.
But this is my point. What I'm saying, I feel like a lot of people jump to conclusions without even looking at numbers because I don't think it's that crazy.
I don't think it's like 5,000 abortions a year. It's got to be.
As opposed to how many women on the planet, it's still a percentage. A percentage is probably like 2%. How much lower do you want it to be?
Higher than it should be. What do you mean 2%?
If you because the only way to compare it would be how many women have abortions to women that do not, right? So if you have 100% of women,
I'm just
and
saying,
the amount of the percentage amount of women that have abortions is like 5%.
like everybody knows that if you have sex, you
no, that's
could
not true either.
possibly have a baby.
Possibly
right?
doesn't mean you're going
so
to.
take every precaution you can.
But like he said, there are situations where
I
you
mean,
take precautions and it still
but
works.
they're very.
I wouldn't even say it's
that's
rare.
minuscule.
I wouldn't say it's super rare.
So if a guy's wearing a condom and a girl has like a contraceptive device in there, what are the chances of you getting pregnant? They've got to be like fucking.
But is that a chance?
But it happens.
I mean, yeah, there's always a chance for everything.
That's what I'm saying. But you're what you're saying is if to a person that 1% happens to, you're telling them that you have to force them to have a child.
No,
and they don't want to have one.
No. What I'm saying is that in general, if there weren't a lot of abortions, it wouldn't be such a huge issue.
I don't think it's that huge of an issue. Look it up for me. I mean, I think we kind of stand on the same point.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think abortion should be your go-to, obviously, because I think just for moral standard, I think that shouldn't be your go-to, but I don't think you should lose your option to do that.
Yeah, I'm not saying like that's like you said, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna terminate babies now because that's like a thing. But like, I think if you economically and emotionally and physically are not ready for a kid, let's say you're a 17-year-old self and you're pregnant.
Yeah,
you're a kid yourself.
That's crazy. Yeah, like how in the world? I mean, you're gonna make it. And then you're choosing that person to raise a child who's probably gonna live in a really bad situation. So it's gonna be worse for the kid.
Yeah, so now socioeconomically, if you say it's such a horrible thing to keep pushing now because now you're, that 17-year-old girl is now probably not going to have a future. I'm not saying she won't for sure, but like maybe she has to drop out of school.
The probability is really high. The probability is really high. John, what do you got? We got 2 minutes.
It's close to 900,000 a year.
900,000 a year.
2016, 874. 2017, 862.
And do you think that's a high number as compared to how many people on this planet? I mean, how many people in the United States? For women?
Probably a little higher than it should be.
What would you think is
more?
What do you think is an appropriate number?
I don't know.
So if you don't even know what an appropriate number is, how do you expect the government to know?
I want to throw out like 50 to 100,000.
Is an appropriate number for you?
Yeah. It's not appropriate, but it's just, it would seem like...
Now think about it. Let's say we did say you had to have this child. How many kids are going to end up in worse situations? A lot.
Yeah.
Because if the person doesn't want that, sure. Like, but the person doesn't want that child already, right? So that probably means they're not fit, like we were talking about. They're probably not fit
gonna give them up
economically.
For adoption or
probably
like
not.
That.
A lot of people don't do that either. A lot of people, once you go through a 9-month pregnancy, they feel something for that kid, so they keep it. But without thinking about their situation.
Because then what you're saying is then, like, let's just say the kid is given for adoption, that family that adopts them, like, will give them the same type of education, livelihood. And I'm not saying they won't, but then the adoption system has to
find them somewhere, find them somewhere to go. And then think about it. How many movies have we watched about stepkids, right? When they find out that they're a stepchild, how they react to that.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying that happens all the time,
man.
But there's a lot of things that can. There's a lot of variables to it. So that's why I've always said the best choice is choice.
Is having a choice.
It's having a choice. Yeah. You do what you feel you want to do. Because guess what that does? That includes what you think, what he thinks, what I think. It doesn't exclude it. You're talking about excluding what people think they should do.
I'm not talking about anything.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, you are. That other episode we had about this show was pretty good. You were pretty.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Things have changed. All right. We're at about an hour and a half, so then we're gonna wind down. You want to say anything at the end? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, just thank you for having me, man. This has been awesome. It's been great chopping up with y'all, and hopefully we can do it sometime in the future.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And it was a slow start. This one was a slow start, but we got good once we started getting into the COVID thing.
This is dope.
We started talking about some serious stuff here. John, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure? You gonna get that vax? You gonna get that jab?
Let us know on the next episode if you do.
Eventually, yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
You got to do it before in every episode. It's a countdown to has he gotten vax yet or not? Yeah, start with that.
We're gonna start. It's got to be a count up then, because it can't be a count down. It's got to be a count up because we don't know when he's gonna actually get it.
Let's start at 3 years and then eventually
work our way down.
Yeah,
That's great. All right, guys. So that's going to be our episode for today. Like, comment, and subscribe. Remember, everything we said is in our opinion, and if you don't agree with it, I got 3 words for you. Thanks for listening.